Well, hello and welcome to another lockdown slideshow. It's been a while since I put one of these together, but such was the amount of photos I was sent last year that I can quite easily get out another one, maybe two or three of these. These are photos that were sent to me way back in March 2020, at the start of the first lockdown, and we're just having a couple of photos here of Tuk and TPA, showing how their lives have improved somewhat, but they sadly can't go anywhere. So these photos are getting on a bit. Some of them are even older, so I apologise if it's taken so long to get this out there. But without further ado, I think we'll get started. And photo number one is coming soon. Here it is. It's a Talbot Horizon, and it was Chris Wastel's first car. And I especially like the extra spot lamps on the bumper there. It's a key improvement. There's a Mark II Escort behind it. But a reminder that these cars were everywhere for a time. It doesn't say when it was his first car, but I'm going to guess late 80s, just as a guess. And he's also sent a photo of this Suzuki SJ410, a proper little off-roader, doing some proper off-roading. Just a 1 litre engine, which was actually bigger than the K car engine they had in Japan. So it was kind of the export number. I don't know if that's if that's Chris owning that car at the time, but it's very nice anyway. Moving on, Steve Hallam spotted this gorgeous little DAF 33 in Bristol, where it seems to be in daily use. The DAF 33 was the Van Dorn brothers who ran DAF, who developed the belt drive transmission. I don't think they were necessarily the first, but they certainly were the ones who really put it into production. And the 33 was a development of the original Daffodil. Here's the front end, and so it's the same sort of belt drive system as my Invacar, which is quite interesting. It also has an air-cooled flat twin engine, so a car I should definitely add to my fleet. I actually prefer the 44 that was sold alongside the 33, which had a nice Michelotti styling. Moving on, who is this from? This is from Nicky Rasmussen, and it's an Opel Capitan that was dragged out of a forest in northern Sweden about 4 years ago. It had sat there for about 40 years, kids had jumped over it, it had been used as a playground, but sadly the forest was being cleared, ready for the trees to be cut down, and this old Opel was dragged out and is presumably scrapped now. There's certainly not an awful lot of it left. But yeah, the Opel Capitan was a fair-sized car for Opel, not one we saw much of in the UK because we had Vauxhall. Vauxhall was building different cars at that time, even though both companies were under the arm of General Motors. Andrew Thornton has also been to Australia, and he sent some lovely photos, including this Mark IV Jaguar. They were never called Mark IV in period, but it came before the Mark V, so this was their pre-war design, which was mildly warmed over for the post-war era, but not very much. And it's got a standard engine, but with Jaguar's overhead valve cylinder head. Another good Australian spot is this Ford Capri, the Mazda 323 based one. So this is a Ford Capri that was only built in Australia. We didn't see it in Europe, although they did sell quite a lot of them in America apparently, and that helped them earn export credits, so they could actually import some cars from Japan. Another oddity from Australia that Andrew spotted, this Fiesta Saloon. I did see a few of these about. That's the 6th generation, I think, or is it the 7th generation? I slightly lose track. I think it's the 6th generation of Fiesta in very rare saloon form. Rare to my eyes anyway, because they're just not a car use fee. Another car you don't see anywhere much other than Australia is this Holden Statesman of the WN. I believe it is a Statesman because it's got the chrome trim around the rear number plate. It was spotted in Victoria. The Statesman and Caprice were larger Commodores, a little bit more luxurious. But in the case of the Statesman, that was kind of the entry-level big car. 3.6 litre V6 was standard. Here is a Peugeot 305 that Andrew spotted in Budapest in Hungary, outside an Italian restaurant by the look of it. And just a lovely sight. I love the way the indicators have faded to white. But wonderful cars, the 305s. And wonderfully comfortable, hugely practical, and they go on absolutely forever. Chris Silk went to Cairo in Egypt in 2009 and took a load of photos that we're going to work our way through now, including this one of a very sad looking Daewoo, I think it's a Lanos, next to a Mini, 1980s Mini that seems to have lost an awful lot of glass. It's a bit of a shame, but it's always fun to see Minis so far from home. Moving on to the next picture, it's a Fiat Strada. Now this is a car I would like to get my hands on for a test in the UK. I love those wheel trims, famously built by robots, and sadly the robots seem to skimp on the rust proofing. But yeah, I've got friends with Stradas, so once travel is permitted I really want to get my hands on one to see what they're actually like. Next we've got we've got a Citroen GS, I think it is, although it appears to have GSA doors, and it also seems to have a suspension issue. It should easily be able to cope with the weight of people on board and should be level, but nonetheless it isn't looking entirely happy with life. It is hard to tell whether it's a GSA with chrome bumpers or a GS with GSA doors, but there you go, lovely colour. Here's a Peugeot 504 Taxi, a very common sight in Africa for a time. I'm not sure if there are parts of Africa where they still are hugely popular, but I suspect in Cairo you probably don't see them quite as much as you used to. It's somewhere I'd very much like to visit, but we're talking 12 years ago that this photo was taken. Remarkable hardy cars, the 504. Here we've got a Dacia 1310, a later facelift version, sort of part next to a Fiat 128, probably a Zastava, although there was a company in Egypt called Nasser, NASR, but also built Fiat designs under license, so it could be one of those. But yeah, the Dacia probably Romanian built. Here's a lovely Fintel Merc. These were the W110, 111 and 112 series. I'm guessing this is a 110 4-cylinder version. Lovely photo, the light is magnificent. I have no idea what's behind it. If you've got any thoughts on the matter, let me know. I haven't been able to work that one out at all. It's got me completely baffled. Jumping on to picture 18, we have this Fiat 1300 1500. Only built between 61 and 67 in Italy, but up to 79 as Zastavas, and I'm not sure when the NASA production was, but I think that's probably a NASA Egyptian built Fiat, so it had a life way beyond the Italian production, and there's an Argenta in the background, so you might want to go back and have a look at that. But yeah, here we've got a Yugo Sana. Again, these were built as NASA's between 2002 and 2005, way after we'd stopped seeing this model in the UK, so it's got a few facelift touches that differ it from my own, but Chrysler Neon behind it as well. Jumping back to the UK, this is Chris Coleman's Peugeot 306 Cabrio, which back in March last year was his new project, and I've just recognised that photo from the Ellen Valley Mountain Road here in Wales. A fine road and a fine car. These were built in the Pininfarina factory in Italy, so not just Pininfarina design, they were built there as well, and really did sort of evoke that special 1960s Peugeot Pininfarina relationship. There were lots of coupes and cabriolets built by Pininfarina on Peugeot running gear, so a very pretty car, especially in bright yellow like that. Look especially good with a hard top on them, and yeah, I'd like to try one. I've never driven a 306 Cabrio, so maybe at some point time will allow. Moving on, Jamie Nicholson's father's garage from the mid-1970s, although the abundance of J-plates leads me to believe this could be quite early in 71, 72 sort of time. We've got Minis, we've got Austin 1100s, but I've got a Maxi next to a Renault 16, which would be a very interesting comparison. I'd love to do that at some point. Now we're jumping to St Helena, which is a tiny island measuring 10 by 5 miles in the Atlantic Ocean. So 2,500 miles east of Rio and about 1,200 miles west of Africa. And this is a very 1980s Capri. I used to see Capris like this in my childhood. It looks absolutely fantastic. There's Land Rover 90 in the background. It's a TDI. And this shot, I'm sorry it's a bit too far away, I should have cropped this one in a bit, but that's a Mark II Escort next to a late Mark V Escort with the different grille. And yeah, an interesting comparison of cars. The Mark II still very popular today. The Mark V Escort not seen as a particular high point, but I better stop there before Miss HubNut tells me off because she likes them. And finally, in this little selection of photos, it's a Rolls-Royce Corniche, a photo taken somewhere in the UK. It's a Corniche convertible. I would estimate it's a 1970s one, but it's a bit hard to tell from there. And just so sad to see it in such terrible condition. Would have had the 6.75 litre V8 Rolls-Royce's engine, and a wonderful interior it would have had at one point, but seemingly not so much anymore. It's not very good having it all exposed to the elements like that. Hugely valuable cars, and they are actually a joy to drive. I have had the pleasure of a couple of them, not in video form. Yes, what a shame indeed. But that about wraps it up for this one. So thank you very much for watching. I'll just leave you with a couple of pictures from my New Zealand and Australia trip, including this lovely Austin Kimberley, and we'll soon see a land crab ute next to a Leyland P76. But thank you for watching. It's a shame we're back into lockdown times again here in the UK. Hopefully we can get on to bigger and better things as the year progresses. So thank you for watching. I shall see you in a future video. Farewell.